You're a driver, never passenger in life. And when you're ready, you won't have to try, 'cause you are the universe. And there ain't nothing you can do. If you conceive it, you can achieve it. That's why I believe in you. Yes, I do.
Hi, my name is Kat and welcome to Good-VibeNation. We're here today to talk about step 5 of the Good-VibeNation recipe, which is basically about self-worth. So thank you, Sarah. Sarah's back. We've asked her to come back today, and thank you for joining us, Sarah.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
After the art of acceptance, having such beautiful feedback, I thought it was important since the word, well, I hadn't heard anything about self-worth. I hadn't even heard the term until a conversation or a reading with you. Step 5 is the raising agent, that before you gather your ingredients, you work out what your standards are. So you add the raising agent to what's already in your life. So step 4 was that, working out where you're at now. And so, yeah, let's talk about self-worth. It has been the change for me to raise my thoughts for myself and to make changes in how I treat others, and importantly how others treat me. If you want things to change, you do first need to do the work on yourself. There's a great saying, as within so without, and it's basically how you feel and your own internal world, your self-worth basically, isn't it?
Yeah. Where
that is reflects outwards. You can't wait for things outwardly to change. You have to do the work on yourself in order to be happy. You taught me about self-worth. I'd heard a lot about self-love, but when I was in a really bad place, that kind of triggered me, you know, how can you love yourself when you're not feeling great? But self-worth, somehow, I really was fascinated to hear more about what you meant. So do you mind sort of sharing your thoughts on it? I think it's important that you give it your take.
That's very nice of you. Thank you, Kat. So first of all, I have to apologise because there's quite a lot of topics that cover self-worth. So I've made a few bullet points, so I do hope you forgive me if I just sort of remind myself, because I want to cover quite a lot in here. So the first point I want to make is that this is just my opinion. You don't have to follow it, but if it resonates with you, great, you follow it and it'll work. So it's one of the most important lessons that's to be learnt in life. It is totally, and I mean totally, based on honesty. And it makes you a stronger person and a person to be reckoned with, really.
When you have self-worth.
When you've grasped it, or you're well on your way, that's when you start feeling the difference. And you know, as I say, it makes you resonate between allowing others to put you down and being honest with them. You know, to me, self-worth makes you feel totally ease with yourself, and you're aware of your own strengths and weaknesses, which is quite important.
Well, yeah, because self-worth comes from when you're self-aware first. You have to have that self-awareness.
Yeah.
And then the self-worth builds because, you accept, though. We've covered that, didn't we, in the art of acceptance.
That's right. But you should never be afraid to voice your truth, you know, because it's like they say, you know, honesty is the best policy. Every time. When I was saying about allowing others to put you down, if somebody says something to you that you find either offensive or you didn't particularly like it or whatever, there's no need to be aggressive. You can just be assertive. And, you know, for instance, you can say, you know, don't you think what you've just said is a wee bit harsh? Whether it's about somebody else or whether it's directed at you, it doesn't matter. If you think that's a wee bit harsh, voice your truth, say it. And you see, what that does is a very powerful thing to do to make them think about what they've said, because it makes them question what they've said, and it puts you in control, because you've bounced that ball right back in their court. You know, no, wait a minute, think about what you've said. So you're making them do something. And then, because they realise, oh, wait a minute, you know, it'll make them think twice before they try to put you down again. So it's a very powerful tool to use. And I'm sure you can agree with what I'm saying, is the social bullies, they can sniff out the weaker person. But someone who spots somebody who's got self-worth,
won't go there.
It's almost as though they recognise that strength, power, presence, whatever you want to call it. And again, they'll back right down. Trust me, it works.
Well, I see it with stars. People don't pick on him.
Yeah, because you know, they just know it's futile to do it. So, in order to be honest with others, you've got to always be honest with yourself. And you've got to keep it balanced, you know. It's you can't go around thinking that you're truly wonderfully perfect, because now that is conceit.
Yeah, that's not.
And that's where you've got
Yeah.
to sort of think, oh, wait a minute, am I going over the self-confidence or whatever? You know, everything should be about balance. And that's what I mean. If you recognise your strengths and your weaknesses, then you'll get that balance in between.
Yeah.
And
But the people that are more narcissistic, more overconfident, wouldn't see a weakness in themselves, would they?
no,
So self-worth is, it's about having
it's
a balance.
again putting the work in to try and stand back. And good old Rabbie Burns, oh, the gift that God would give us to see ourselves as others see us. It's that. Do you see what I mean? Sort of think about how you're presenting yourself and things like that. But when you know all the good qualities you have, as well as the bad ones, and that's where the honesty comes in again, you'll gradually realise that overall you're quite a good egg, and probably better than you thought you were. And so it's, you know, if you realise that you could be a better person, or you could do more good, or keep quiet, or whatever, then that's the time to make the changes, because it can be done. Because again, you are in control. Nobody else is in control of your life. It's just you.
So I think the real fundamental thing that you taught me about self-worth was thinking, for those people that might have looked at step 3 about the places the mind goes, I was having a lot of complaint in my head about, I don't know, situations, relationships with people, wasn't I? And you know, going over and over, and it was just going around in circles, and you were like, hang on a minute, Kat, you know, you're creating this, your input into this is by not speaking up for what you want or what you need or what you don't think's right or fair. You're not, you know, you're allowing yourself to be treated this way. So, you know, you really taught me about aiming higher and said to me, where are your dreams? What do you want? Which is hence where the ingredients came from. What do you want in each area of your life, and not just waiting for the next opportunity. Make those opportunities, put the work in, and what are you aiming for? What are your dreams? And that was really fundamental for me in you know, making changes. For me, self-worth, you've taught me, is fundamentally about being precious with your time.
Oh yeah.
And really bothering with the things, because you're bothering to work out what the things are that make you tick, and then just bothering with them, that will make you feel good, because you're going to step away from relationships.
Wasting energy.
Yeah, or things that bring you down, or people or circumstances that drain you or bring you down, because they're just not right. You're not, you know, just not a fit with that. So, and by focusing on and just bothering with things that make you feel good and being precious with your time, that for me is the self-worth thing. And the raising the, you know, with the recipe, this is where my life's at now, was step 4, but to go on to, you know, working out what you want with your ingredients, so moving on to working out what you want for your ingredients and making the changes and the things that you do want in your life isn't just law of attraction, I want this, I want this, I want this. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to be for each of those things? Like, you know, if you want really good friendships, how are you being with, if you've just got one, how are you being with that one?
Yeah.
And let that grow. Just, you know, get rid of the things that don't chime with you. And
yeah,
so
definitely.
that's really what you've taught me, is to be precious with your time.
Yes.
And yeah, and to not just think that things are just come, to put the effort in, like your dad said.
Well, I mean, he always taught me when I was growing up that you could be whatever you want for as long as you want.
Amazing.
Providing you put that work in first.
Yeah.
They're not going to give it to you. They have to wait and see how desperately you want to be a brain surgeon or whatever, and go to medical school for all those years and things like that. Do you see what I mean? You have to show them that this is important and this is going to help me, and then they'll reward you. But if you don't put that effort in, it's just, there's nothing there, is it? You know, it's just not worth it. You know, you can't expect to be a spoilt child and just demand this and demand that without working for it.
Yes, just asking for things isn't going to make you feel happy. That might make you feel happy, say, in your work, if you know, if you wish up and get something like that. But happiness is having a balance of all of life's parts, isn't it? All of life's ingredients.
Well, all the areas, yeah.
Which is what takes the time and the effort, to me, is the self-coaching of what is each area of your life like, and what effort and energy you're putting into each area of your life. You know, you can't just wish for the perfect marriage or relationship and have no part in
but you'd also
it,
spend half your life wishing this and wishing that.
Yeah.
What's the point of that?
But I see that in a lot of people that as well, that they're constantly wishing and wanting, and then you think, hang on a minute, but 5 years ago you wished for everything you have now, and yet you don't seem to be happy with it.
Still not enough.
And it's that to me is is the shame of that. And I think self-confidence and self-worth comes so much from appreciation of yourself and of the things that you have, no matter how small. Sarah, you taught me what self-worth is, and in the Big Up to You, at the end of the recipe, I totally, you know, hand on heart, believe and mean it, that, you know, you told me to aim high for each and every area of my life. And, you know, your infectious, childlike, positive energy inspired me to lighten up, to seek and then feel life's sunshine. And, you know, you questioned me. You were honest and real with me and said, Kat, this self-sabotaging behaviour, being caught up in these complaints and this comparing, talked about in step 3, how is that working out for you? And I was like, oh, sugar. It's me, you know, and that self-responsibility for my own happiness, that is the, you know, that self-awareness of my limitations and, you know, the things I haven't got right, and, you know, have to keep myself in check.
What to work on?
Yeah, we all do, but you've taught me that mental balance, having that outlook about each area of my life, and being aware of what I'm creating within that. That's self-worth.
So I hope that you don't mind me saying this on camera, Kat, but when you and I first met, you were in such a bad place.
I know.
And, you know, when I didn't do it, there's no magic. I just showed you what you could achieve. But because you then realised that you had to change things in your life.
Oh, God.
And this is, you know, where you know, I wanted you to raise the bar, aim high, and that's where, like, the raising ingredient in your recipe is to sort of think big. You know, there's nothing wrong with thinking big.
I needed to, Sarah, but I didn't have any responsibility in feeling so lost about who I was. I was unsure of myself. I was massively insecure. I was so upset by my parents' breakup that and the kind of parenting that I'd had to take on with emotionally supporting my mum, and it was really hard to so much so with the sort of the pressure and the weight of that emotional burden, where, you know, and not knowing who I was or where I wanted to go, because I hadn't put any thought into it. I didn't have any emotional support, because bless them, they were understandably so entrenched in their own emotional stuff that there wasn't sort of, hey, who are you, what do you want to do? I just didn't know myself, and that's where the whole Be Yourself has come from, because of all the amazing people can check out on the section of our website. Getting Good Vibes is an amazing load of things there to look at, but one of that was the big coaching was from you, Sarah, and I'm really grateful for that. To the extent I was in such a mess that I don't mind sharing that I would say when I was at university in my final year, most people would be out having a jolly old time, but I didn't let people in because I was so overwhelmed with being sad and my just anxiety and lonely. It's a horrible place, and I know people have a lot worse, but for me that was my worst. And so at the weekend I would say to my university friends, oh, I'm out with my home friends, and my home friends I'd say, I'm out with my university friends. And in truth I was in my room in my dorm just watching Friends on my own, because I just couldn't, it was horrible. It just wasn't a nice place to be. But then to meeting you and our chats and just you saying what do you want for each area of your life, and hey, do you want to aim a little bit higher, family patterns, what's familiar to you, is that what you want? What do you want? And that was where it all changed for me, and that's why I've done the recipe to help others to map out what makes them tick and to go for those things like I have, because oh my gosh, the transformation and what I feel appreciative
again, it's being aware of keeping your mental state balanced as well as all the balancing of the different areas.
Well, it's my attitude to it, or it's my choice to it, or realising it's a choice.
Didn't you recently go on a course for mental health?
Yeah, I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity through work to become a mental health first aider. I met some wonderful people from Happiful magazine that run the course. That they have this big dream that as much as people are how many physical first aiders there are,
yes,
they want 1 in 8 people to have this mental health first aid training, because it's just getting people to ask how people are in the first instance, to kind of step in and offer this support, because the stats are serious with mental health
illness.
That 49% of visits to the GP this year has jumped from 1 in 3 last year to 49%. That's what Happiful magazine have the proper stats. So, yeah,
it's a high percentage, isn't it?
But from someone who I used to feel overwhelmed, insecure, worrying every day, but I don't now.
It's because your mind is more peaceful now. That's why, because you've sorted your mind out.
Yeah.
If you sort your mind out, you can sort your life out. It's a sort of follow-on effect.
Exactly. So hence just working out for each of those ingredients mentally where you're at. So setting the standards, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, people say that my standards are far too high, but they're my standards. I've won that level, and that's what's right for me. And if whoever can't give me those standards, then I can't have them in my life. I know that sounds a bit harsh, doesn't it? But I have to have that standard because it's important to me.
But that's just mirroring back. If you have that standard, that's just your vibe attracts your tribe, don't they say that if you have those values for you, then it's only right, because you won't feel comfortable if
I don't, if
you're around somebody that I don't know just says something really, I don't know, nasty, bitchy. I always think, oh god, that's for me, I take it as a red flag of that person you're just not going to get on with, because you just don't like that energy.
Well, it's an alarm bell ringing, isn't it?
Yeah. Hello, George.
Oh, hello, Mr. George. Yeah, so that must have been interesting, that mental health thing.
Oh, it's amazing, and it's given me so much compassion, and you just don't know what's going on in someone's head, do you? You can't assume anything about anyone else's path, because for me, and that's why I've got a big thing about just letting people be.
Well, the difference with mental health and physical health is that, if you break your arm, you've got a great big plaster cast on there, and people, oh, what have you done to your arm?
Sympathy.
Nobody says, oh, what's going on in your head?
Are you all right?
But that's where close friends play their part. you know, and if you have to be so careful about who you let in. Because if you let the wrong ones in, you'll end up expelling all that time and energy to the wrong place because they won't care. But your close friends will care, even though they don't understand that they might not have suffered the same way that you have, but they can see that mentally you're suffering.
Yeah, but everyone does to some extent about something, don't they? You don't have to have a major crisis. You know, just turning on the news it can be depressing enough for me. You know, it's just there's so, you know, it's everywhere, isn't it? So that's why you've got to get happy with the small things. You know. Yeah. George. We will soon be doing the ingredients videos where we'll be looking at what you do want for your life, and so having this think now before then about your own self-worth and the standards you want for each of those ingredients is just a good thing. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us.
You're very welcome. You're very
sharing
welcome.
your take on self-worth.
Yes.
Yeah, and setting standards for your life, right?
Yes.
And yeah, thanks so much for listening. And as we like to say here at Good-VibeNation, George, always see the sunshine that is in your life, like you, George, as still as still.
And can I just interject there? Because I saw something the other day that I thought was lovely. And then it says, if you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine. How lovely is that?
Love it. Thank you, Sarah.
Just thought I'd check that bit in. Because it's on my toilet wall.
Is it? Yeah, it is. It's like a blooming library in there. Love it.
The secret weapon isn't secret anymore. You're a driver, never passenger in life. And when you're ready, you won't have to try